Okay, so my name is Sujin and I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also the founder of a private practice, The Kind Place. And I'm really happy to be here with all of you tonight, being able to moderate the talk. We're going to have a panel of 4 expert speakers to talk to us about men's mental health. And before we begin for real, I like to let you know that if you have any questions for the speaker, please enter it in the chat anytime, and our team will compile it for the speakers to answer at the end of the session. So today we'll be talking about a topic that I think hasn't been given much attention in general, but it's something that we believe is very important to discuss, which is men, and also their changing roles in society. So in the past, I think we are familiar with seeing men going out to do hard labor while their wives stay at home. Maybe the wives take care of the children and parents and stuff like that. But times are changing. So nowadays, we always talk about women and empowering women. So empowering women, whether it's at home or at the workplace, and women are becoming more recognized for their efforts and achievements, both in the private sectors and public sectors. And while this is happening, the roles of men is shifting as well. So now men are contributing more in areas that were previously not so commonplace. And with this recent shift in roles and responsibilities, it's something that maybe we might wonder, like, how has it affected the men among us? And how can we navigate these changes together? So because I'm a woman, I have invited men to come and talk about this topic. I thought that it'll be very apt to hear from the men themselves. And all the men here are from the mental health space. So I think it's really, really great being able to hear their experiences and their opinions on this matter. So to start off, I'd like to hand over to the speakers to introduce yourself, your occupation, and also your relationship status, just so we know like what perspective you are taking, and maybe something interesting. So something that people might be surprised to know about you. And with this, maybe I'll invite Dr. Tanapong or mine to go first.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Thanapong, right? No, actually I'm from Thailand, right? And you might know that Thai people name is really long, so you can call me as my nickname as mine. So I'm a counseling psychologist, and also right now I'm also a lecturer at Chiang Mai University in the Department of Psychology in counseling psychology. Mm, from my relationship, right, Sejin? I am with my girlfriend. Like we stay together. Actually, I'm from Bangkok before, right? Before, and then now I got my new career, and then we moved together to stay together, like as a boyfriend and girlfriend in Chiang Mai. Mhm.
Mm.
The fact that people might be surprised about me, lah. Hmm. Maybe one thing, like people might think that I'm a easygoing people and or maybe smiling, but also I also have some angry feeling. Mm. Like, yeah, I can be anger. Like even though just this morning I just been angry with the car that crashed on my car, like just sudden. But yeah, but
Oh
yeah, I do
no.
have that part as well.
Wow, I didn't know, like, I know you're human mind, but I have never seen you angry before. So knowing you for so many years, I think this is really surprising even for me to know. Okay. Thank you, Mine.
Okay, you're welcome.
I think Marcus, would you like to go?
Oh, sure. I'm still reeling from mine sharing that he got in a car crash. I think I would. I would have lost myself. Yeah, I'm Marcus, and I'm a counselor by training. And my relationship status is I'm married to my childhood friend. Yeah, we met when we were in secondary school. but romance grew around working adult stage. So something about myself that people might not know is that I'm actually expecting my firstborn coming out very soon. In the next few weeks, we're in the final trimester, last few weeks. And yeah, excited, nervous, everything. First time father, and it's a girl. So
Wow.
thank
Congrats.
you.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and I think that's something that, wow, I don't know, it's so difficult to prepare for. So thanks for sharing that, Marcus. Oh, and mine, sorry, I forgot to mention, I hope you're okay. And I'm glad that you're here tonight despite the accident that you got into this morning. Yeah. Okay. Ling Yuan, Dr. Wong, sorry.
No. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Ling Yuan. I'm actually a clinical psychologist with a kind place, as well as I'm also a behavior analyst. So, with my current relationship status, I'm actually I want to say that I'm on the tail end of planning my wedding bells. So I met my fiance um, at our at my previous workplace. Yeah, and I want to say that uh, we at a very get go, I think our personalities would actually do not quite mix too well. But of course, as we get along, we actually saw the 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 good side of each other, and we realized that actually in the long run, in the further future, long term goals actually do match up, and yeah, so that's why we're really glad to be getting married soon, in probably in a month's time. Yeah, and something that I don't really let people know. Well, one thing is that I'm a foodie. I would queue for food, but then my fiance does not like to queue for food, so so we have to manage that. But I think, yet on the other hand, though, I actually can have the same food, like the same dish every day on months.
Wow. Okay. Well, so I think that's very interesting. Like, congrats on your wedding to come. So many happy news from your, like, there's mine who is in a relationship, move in with the girlfriend. Marcus expecting a baby soon. Ling Yan going to get married. And now let's hear from men.
Hi, so I'm Ben. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. So the part is for my relationship part. Yes, I have a girlfriend who is just like Singaporean, so I know what is the difference between Singaporean relationship or Indonesian relationship. Again, there is actually apparently there's no good, there's no bad. Everybody's human. Things that rarely people know about me is actually I was blind for 3 months, and doctor actually mentioned that nothing can be done to this boy, and it happened when I'm in university. So this is the reason why I know how people is when they are in the brink of suicidal, because I was there before. So once I'm actually recovered and stuff is where maybe is why the path is being crafted for me that I cannot run away from doing this. So this for myself.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, man. Like, thanks for sharing something so personal with everyone here. And it's amazing that you are here today and you're able to see and you are wanting to help other people as well. So thanks for sharing that. Okay. Now that we know our speakers better, we can move on to the actual topic of the day. I always think that it's very important to get to know who you're listening to. Otherwise, like, why would their opinions matter? Now we know we have 4 professionals here and 4 people with many different life experiences that we can learn from. So as mentioned earlier today, the topic of the day is talking about men's changing role in society. And there has been a shift within the roles that men and women both play, whether it's at our workplace or even in our interactions or even in relationships. Women are more involved in the workforce, we are establishing our careers. Many people are bosses, managers, they're all up there. You don't get that in the past. So that's a very big change. And also now, like with men are changing, right? Men are also having caregiving responsibilities. It's no longer where the woman needs to be in the kitchen all the time, or the woman needs to be at home taking care of the kids all the time. That's not how reality is anymore. In the modern world, men have to take care of the kids as well. Men also need to do the laundry, men need to clean the house, men need to cook. So many different changing roles of men. However, like I think I like, don't get me wrong, I think this move is great for women, like women are very empowered. I'm not complaining, but I think that the men have been put in the background or in the shadows for quite some time now, and they are also affected by all these changes. So turning to our invited guests, right, to all of you, because each of you are in different phases of your life and have different experiences in life and play different roles, as partners or even in your job. I'm wondering, like, whether you can share, like, how this shift in roles have affected you personally, maybe experiences in either your place of employment or your personal relationships, and also how do you feel about it? On top of that, like, because all of you here are experts, I also want to get your view of how, like, society and public perspectives have influenced your experiences, and maybe if you would like, sharing some of the cases that you have seen with your clients as well. So for this part, maybe to get the ball rolling, can I invite Marcus to kickstart the discussion?
Sure. Wow. It's quite a lot of questions. So I hope I capture everything.
As much as you
I think
can.
the first one off, yeah. So feel free to chime in as well, the rest of the speakers. I think the first one was asking about our occupation and our places of employment. So to give a bit of context, I actually have worked in the engineering industry before, in the engineering sector, working with machines like real men, a very manly place, all men there. And so the experiences is really filled with a lot of males. Testosterone are running, and ego is there, and everybody's trying to oust each other and better each other in what we're doing. And I think that was a very friendly, a nice place to grow up in. But shortly after that, I went into teaching. I went to the Singapore education system, where suddenly there was quite a shift. There was a lot of females suddenly, and in fact, my superiors and my supervisors across my career there were all females. So there was a shift of understanding of how to work with a different perspective, right? Male bosses might hold certain things more of value, and for female boss, maybe they also hold something else of value, slightly different things. Yeah, and then so with that whole shift, that affected me, and it did teach me how to be a bit more open-minded to hearing. No, and I guess speaking from where you know where they want to be heard, right? And also now coming into the the helping sector in counseling, I think there's a good balance of male and females to work with. So I feel a bit more comfortable at ease as compared to when I first did that shift. It was really quite a shift. I did felt like my manlyhood of sorts were challenged or not valued per se. Yeah, and it might not actually be of any fault of my employers, but more of my own perspective of my own masculinity. Yeah, and I think that also trickled down into my relationship, because back then I was still dating and I was transiting. I got married during the time when I was being a teacher of sorts. And when I was married, again, there was a shift in expectations, in the roles that we play. And so I come from an all-male family. My whole household was only my mom was the female. So all of us were guys. And coming to this family, my wife come from an all-female family. So that was a shift in itself. When we got together, I knew that I was going to do more household chores and things like that. I took it up. I didn't know that it would affect me a bit more than I thought it would. You know, it made me kind of like I'm actually still discovering this part as well. I recently shared with my wife that actually I would appreciate it if you also kind of do a bit more of the household chores with me. Not that she's doing less or anything. It's just my own perspective was I was doing a lot. Again, it's my own self-discovery journey as a male figure, as a man, as a father soon, and all these things of balance. Yeah. So I guess for me would be a lot about opening up. Yeah, and being open to different forms of manhood. You know, being a husband is serving your wife. That is manhood. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so like I hear from you is like there's this need to have that awareness, the awareness in that shift, like from moving from engineering to moving to a teaching role where it's a big change in terms of your environment, the people around you, from an all male environment to a more mainly female like dominated
Yeah, more
environment.
females. Male support
Yeah.
was actually lacking. I didn't have a lot of male teachers to talk to.
Wow. Okay. So like I can only imagine like that journey might have been could have been lonely as well. I'm wondering,
Mm.
you know, the rest of the speakers, whether any of you had anything similar or an experience like that.
Yeah. Well, previously I was working in more also in a more predominantly female industry. I was in the government. There was so it was a sector in the government and that deals with people with disabilities in the whole of Singapore. So of course, there's a lot of ideas of like nurturing, helping people. There's a lot of and also a lot of training as well. So what happened was that I mean, yeah, there were many of times whereby I think I was in a team of like maybe six or seven people, including my supervisor back then. I was probably the only man in the role, of course. And then that tends to perpetuate throughout my actually throughout my entire career as well. Except probably with a kind place, I think we see a more of a mix between male and females here. Yeah, but then what helps me to understand is that I mean in this world there's I mean there may be other genders around, but the very basic is that there's the male, there's always men and women, and people who engage is always usually a man or a woman. And what happens is that you know I just have to learn to deal with work with both sides, right? I think what happens also is that having to coming as a man, it's like I'm able to bring out something that a lot of well, probably something that the team of women may need in that sense. Maybe, I mean, there are skills whereby men are a bit stronger, like analytic skills. And so I think one of the favorite thing they like me to do is to when we have to clean up, my hands are longer, so I happen to stretch over and clean. So I mean, we do bring up certain qualities to the table that with some the team of women usually have probably showing more deficits in or like I wouldn't say they're lacking, but more of like there's some skills that they may not have or not. But then the idea is that while working there, actually I was able to understand how women work as well. More so, it helps me to appreciate how to work together as a team, because every individual comes in with their own skills, men or women. I mean, I don't think there's any pure. It's like all the feminine characteristics do not just address feminine. Some men has it too. Same thing with all the masculine characteristics do not just address men. So women's have it too. And it's always this is more of coming in with this blend of different personalities, different characters, and then how to work with all of them. Some people can lead, some people will do the work. Of course, this is how we all this is how a team will how a team actually will survive. Yeah.
So like what I'm hearing from you is that even though when you were working with a team of mainly women, you were able to find your strengths. So to be able to see how you can contribute to that team, and it doesn't matter like whatever gender, like everyone has their own strengths and different things that they can contribute as a team, like when we are working together.
Exactly.
Okay. What about the rest of you? Men or mine, like what about your experiences?
So I can share, like, listen to like both Marcus and Ling Yuan, right? For me, I also like have some similar experience as well. Like before, I just think back and I just realize that yeah, before I was in all men environment. Before, like I was in a men's school, a men's school, like since from like first grade until graduate, right? I was all in all men's school, and then suddenly when I uh admit into the university, the psychology department, right? And then it sudden change to like almost like all women in Thailand. I'm not sure about in Singapore, in Indonesia, right? But in Thailand, like for psychology department, I don't know why it's like almost all women by that time. and then and then it's like a little bit of culture shock for me, like, oh, how can I deal with all of these women, all this girl? But then it's a good opportunity to really learn like gender equality and gender differences. But yeah, but for me, like for me personally, I really do like the changing role that happened. I really do. Like I think it's encourage people to really be who they are. Like they we we can really see like actually not all men have to be masculine, like, and not all women have to be feminist. And then but before, like when I was younger, the view seemed that when I was in men high school, right, it seemed like all of us had to be masculine. and if we're not masculine, we might be like some strength, some like back sheep out of there, something like that, right? And then I also see that by that time I was in psychology department, right? Some women friend like that that is not really feminine, like get more easier to get along with men friend. She also feel like she has a back sheep as well, like so so this changing role, I think it's like it's more encouraging people to be who they really are.
Okay. So for yourself, you also have like had that shift, and like in terms of your environment being all male, then moving on to like a more female dominated environment, which is interesting. Like I had a similar experience in the US where my class was all girls as well for counseling, but in Singapore somehow, I don't know, magically I think it's more balanced. Like I see a lot of male mental health therapists as well in Singapore as compared to when I was in the US. And for mine, it also sounds like what you're saying is that this shift allows people to be themselves, like be able to be who they are. I remember, yeah, last time when we were younger, I think we're all around the same age-ish, when we were younger in primary school, like people might use derogatory terms like for people who don't fit into like the gender norms. Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can hear from men, like what your experience and your perspective on this.
I think for me, the lucky part of me, either lucky or not lucky, that I learned the shift much earlier. In the sense like, of course, in Indonesia, every time we talk, we always say, if you want to date with a girl, you need to have the money. You need to be the one that always pay. So we always being put like, oh, okay, guy's supposed to be a dominant in the relationship. But when I'm at home, my mom is the sole breadwinner. My dad just retire himself as per se, and there's a lot of things that he can't do, and my mom is the one that lead the family. So that's where I see then why in the society guys being put to be like must be a dominant, but how come in my house my mom is a dominant? And at the same time I also luckily able to learn that it beaten up my father ego a lot, because he is a very traditional guy. I mean, he really learned martial art and stuff. So you can imagine that those people that learn martial art, they really go for it. And it seems like the manhood is being hidden until zero. So why I become hypnotherapist is also because of him. He is the first client, as per se, that I have helped to get back the ego from. So since that day, actually, I start to realize that actually guys and girls is just differences of gender. So I start to see that there's a lot of differences. Even in Singapore, going Dutch is very, very normal. In Indonesia, you will not see go Dutch. If either you pay for the girl or the girl will scold you, you never pay for her.
Well, I want to be in Indonesia. I think I need to go to Indonesia. Then I can always get my meals paid for.
Yeah, so even until today, when you go to Indonesia, there's a lot of housewife. No matter how many kids they have, it's always a housewife. So I mean, in that girls, it seems like we always being educated to take care of the family as a guy. So the girl can actually enjoy staying at home, taking care of the family.
Okay. So then, like, because for yourself, like, you came from Indonesia and then now you're in Singapore, I'm wondering whether, like, there was a difficulty in coming here. I know you shared that your mom was the main breadwinner, but with the culture and everything, how do you find it different here and how has it affected you?
It's pretty shocking for the first few years. Of course, it's like when I go out, then sometimes the boyfriend will say, hey, you know, this is what you need to pay me for. Like $50, you need to pay 25. I need to pay 25. And my mind is like, how come the guys in Singapore need to calculate the money? How come in Indonesia we are come out with the money? Until the time that I realized that in Singapore, most of the ladies actually sometimes earns more than the guy. Then I start to realize that, okay, then now it makes sense, because if the girl earns so much and the girl willing to pay, then I mean, like, it's a happy situation. Yeah.
So talking about that, right? Like, you know, in Singapore, maybe like the women and men, they go Dutch because of the wage differences where women might earn more than the men. I'm wondering, like, because we are talking about Singapore, like Marcus or Ling Yuan, how do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, we having women to of course women with higher purchasing power, they actually do. It's something that you might want to bring to a family, to a household as well. I mean, it's not a bad thing if you think about it. You know, if you are planning for the long term to have a child, or even to have to set up a household, just a husband and wife situation. I mean, I don't think there's anyone who will say no to more money, right? Of course, that coming in, of course, when someone brings in that amount of money, and may not be equal, high or low, it doesn't matter, but it's still substantial to the household, right? You can't. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, you can't have someone just bring in the money and that and they have zero say. They still have zero say. That's not. That's almost like in a work environment. Yeah, like the boss and then your employees actually bring in the money, but they have zero say about how to run a company. You're not running a company. We are running a family here. We are on this journey to be married, to be to have a family, to have kids. So of course, then I'm also not saying that without purchasing power, without bringing in money, doesn't mean that the person have no say. I mean, if we look at domestic work, household chores, things like that. I mean, they actually calculated that if purely if a wife just purely work on the household chores, that itself is equivalent to what a man does outside as work. So in that sense, it's just that in the past probably we have not really not appreciated that women being in the house at home doing household chores. But of course these days with women coming in bringing money, I would say that, I mean, that would actually put them in a situation whereby they would have some they would have their own opinions there. And of course, being an individual, just being an individual in a family, you're running a family together, that person is very entitled an opinion. Right? We're not trying to build slaves here or anything. We're trying to run a family, like I said. We're trying to have a family.
So now, like with the change, it's like there's more equal say in terms of things in the family, things in the household, and so you see that women having more earning power is something that's positive to the household. With women having like equal say and equal power and this increased earning power, I'm wondering, like, maybe Marcus, like as someone living in Singapore experiencing this, how do you feel?
I would say it's a very humbling experience. If I may go into a bit of a history, right? So money was as a young male trying to start a family back then single, haven't buy the proposal ring, right? So that would be like the first big purchase, right, of the male starting a family journey thing. I was very concerned about money, and my then girlfriend was already earning more than me. The confession is that she's still earning more than me lah. The trajectory is that way due to, I guess, one of the things I found out through in the male groups that I'm in is actually due to our NS. For guys, we start NS, so females do have the 2 years kickstart. It will actually affect for about a decade or so, and men only actually kind of catch up after the decade, about 15 years. Then they kind of match up or will go above, because men need to build their career. I mean, everybody needs to build their career. Men have 2 years behind. Yeah, so with that, and I actually found this out through one of the activities that my then girlfriend and I were volunteering for. We were volunteering for this charity that was doing like family, doing family values for youths. So we were like mentors, and it was another mentor, another person, fellow mentor, fellow volunteer that just shared me that if money is going to always define you, right, then what are your real priorities? Is it really starting a family, or is it to have the bragging rights in the family before you start the family? And I guess obviously I wasn't into the bragging. Say I really want to start a family, I went to go ahead. But then again, that was when I was still fairly naive in this field. In the marriage itself, it did come up again, right? The difference in our paycheck, and it did affect my ego. But I think it's being very honest, I think it's affecting me in a good way. In a way, I'm also thinking, knowing myself, if I had more money, maybe I wouldn't be as kind, or maybe I would be a bit more aggressive in the way that I manage the family, just because the ego is there. But because it's not the case, I am forced to look inward and go, like, I need to humble myself. And it is very honest. It's very honest sharing. I'm not a saint. I wish I was, and I wish I could say that, even no matter what the paycheck is, I'll always be the nicest husband. And I do try to be, even as I work my career. But I also realize my own weaknesses along the way, that hey, actually this exists. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the ego is something that plays a part in a lot of things, a lot of emotions that we feel, and it can cause conflict or friction because of our ego. So I think that it takes awareness to be able to recognize that. I'm wondering, mine, like because you're in Thailand, what are some of your experiences in terms of this, and maybe if what are your thoughts on like the male ego?
So I think this experience is somehow universal, maybe because we are all in Southeast Asia. But like, yeah, men's ego, like, as I noticed, somehow got affected by like when their girlfriend got higher income, or sometimes it make them feel like they're incompetent. They are not competent. Like, well, I don't really know why, but maybe it came from the history, right? That men were inherited to be like the family leader, and then and then and then when when people believe that, and then they try to like compare, like, okay, I supposed to be like, men might think I supposed to be a family leader, so if I got less income than my girlfriend, it feel like, oh, I'm not good enough as a family leader. And then somehow it affect, like, it might got it might affect less people in my age, but maybe like a little bit older, somehow I can even see that somehow they even turn to drugs, they even turn to alcohol, that 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 change their life even worse, somehow like that.
Mm. So
But
when you talk about this, you say like the ego is affected like that. It seems to have a trickle down effect on other parts of their person, right? Their mental health. You talked about turning to drugs, or like what I'm hearing, like maybe their self-esteem as well. So like with all these changes, right? What do you think? How would you recommend um other men to take care of their mental health when they're faced with like these stresses or pressures from society? And how would you, or maybe like if you can share like how you take care of your own mental health as well?
oh, I can start first now.
Mm.
So the first thing that came to my mind is like, actually I think we need to really identify first that the thing that pressure us is from society or actually from our mind. Like, sometimes, well, me, I also heard a lot of client, also me, sometimes like feel that people in society might be, no, not might, but must expect us to be this, do that, but actually, who's really say that? And a lot of time when I ask this to myself, or I ask this to my clients, we found out that actually no one really said it. It's our heart, it's our mind that keep telling us. So I think this expectation that might seem to be from society, but actually it us that take this value and scrumming down ourselves to make us feel worse and low self-esteem or whatever, until we forget to see the good part that we have.
Mm. So like you say that the society, right? Like these changes are good, right? So some of these changes, they are beneficial and they can help with like gender equality and stuff. However, it can take a toll on our mental health because the society has all these expectations of us, and sometimes we still hold those traditional expectations and keep telling ourselves, oh, we need to be this, we need to be that, we must. So with that, like how would you recommend like other people to take care of their mental health? Or like what do you do to take care of your mental health?
In this case, I would say that to really aware of our value, of
Mm.
our, like, our meaning, our beliefs, like really aware of how we really are first, is something that really important. Like my best friend, she has a boyfriend that he doesn't he doesn't the one that meant to pursue money. his his dream is like to write something. Then that means that he would not earn any money from until his book will publish. But then I think this is the important part, that we need to really like know who we are, and then know know who our partner are, our family really are. Like, if my best friend she's start to expect him to really earn money, it's gonna be like a really big crash on their relationship, which is which is which is which is just came from just a small point that he is just not like what she would expect.
Mm.
Mm.
So understanding our own personal values, that's something that's very important. And it sounds like what you're saying is not just coming from the guy side, but also coming from the girl side, where the girl needs to adjust where we need to adjust our expectations as well.
Right. And
Mm.
also like the guy side also need to adjust our expectation as well, like to really see like this is who we are and this is what we think so society meant us to do, and then all we can take care of us is like just to really shoot what we can really do.
Mm. So knowing like what is our values versus what is society's values.
Mm.
Mm. Thanks, Mine. What about the rest of you?
I mean, actually piggybacking on Mike's thoughts, of expectation of, I would say that in many relationships, I don't think when a woman when a woman marries a man, I don't think they just look at the man being their ATM machine. For instance, I mean, there's several qualities in a man that attracted the woman in the first place, and this combination of qualities that is unique in this man is what keeps the wife or the woman to this man, and that's what attracts her. It may be a certain humor that tickles this woman, and only it's probably only this woman sees this humor, for instance. And if we were to let ourselves be defined by the work that we do, by the amount of money that we bring into the family, I think we're missing a whole lot in what we can offer ourselves to our partners. Is essentially, yeah. So I mean, of course, and sometimes when this kind of situation, we kind of get stuck and start stewing and finds it very difficult to get out of this cycle. So we definitely, this is when our coping skills or comes in to help us clear our mind. For me, for instance, I practice a form of mindfulness, which has some psychoanalytic properties, such as bring the unconscious up to the conscious, and so that I'm aware of how my body and mind is reacting to the current situation. But if you ask me to do something physically, I recommend doing some exercises. For instance, I mean, if you are very heavy in sports, go do some sports activities, go to the gym, pick up hobby. For me, I myself actually, I do try to walk 8 to 10 kilometers every day, just to I mean that itself, that 1-2 hours actually allows me to actually think through all the emotions that I went through that day, and think through having clearer thoughts on how to sometimes it's about clients, so I have a better clearer idea of how I can help a certain client or what is this client going through. Yeah, it's actually during these quiet hours I'm able to do all that. So that I really appreciate to be able to do some, to have my time away from work.
So it's like what you're saying is you notice that people now, they have a lot of thoughts. Like the thoughts are what gets stuck in their mind and plays over and over and over and over again. And yeah, I noticed that happens as well with a lot of my clients, right? They come in and it's like their thoughts are stuck in their head. And for you, yeah, you talked about something very interesting. You said you do something psychoanalytical to help look at your unconscious minds to bring it to the conscious as well. And on that, I'm wondering whether that's something similar that maybe men might know about.
Hi, so yeah, I think it's almost similar with what Linian actually shared, that a lot of people have misconception about hypnotherapy. they always feel that hypnotherapy is very mystical, but in sense like we cannot differentiate between meditation state and hypnosis state. I mean, when we talk about state itself, but of course the differences is meditation, they always say that please let your mind go. When the mind comes, let it be and push it away in a sense. But hypnotherapy, we use that state and we really use the state to up for our own benefit. It's like, for example, I do it every single day. I really live, breathe, and eat hypnotherapy. So, like, when I'm actually decided that I want to do push up, 90 push up every single day, I try my willpower to do that, but I definitely fail. But in hypnotherapy, I say, okay, now I want to do push up every day. I'm not sure, but I want to reach 90. And like what Nia actually mentioned, that when the subconscious and the conscious is aligned, for certain reason, when I'm watching, like I'm relaxing, just watch YouTube or watch my training site, my body would actually say, why not do 20 now? So I start to do 20. Why not 20 another round? You have rested for 5 minutes, then I do another 20. So at the current moment, I really reach at least 90 every single day. So this is the part that we've forgotten how our mind can help, especially to release the stress. Like, for example, a lot of people say, oh, I have migraine, can I get extra Panadol extra and stuff? But I have been proven when I help my client to actually see what that migraine wanted to share, suddenly the person say, can you slow down your work? And when I ask the client, so what happened in your life? They will say, I don't know, but I always work, I never rest. And insomnia people that come to me, then I ask what happened, then they will directly come out with a pain. And when I ask, can you talk to the pain and share with me what the pain wanted to share with you? And the pain suddenly say, can you take a good rest? So there's a lot of things that in hypnotherapy is just the name, but the state is being used to the direction that we know, and we can realign our own conscious and subconscious. Yeah, so that's what I do every single day.
Wow. Like I think it sounds like Man and Ling Yuan have found some magical formula to help them reach this state. Oh yes, mine.
Well, for me, like since I'm from like Buddhist perspective of counseling as well, like so I would just to add up for like the meditation for a bit. Like I would like to add up from what Man said, like actually meditation is not just to see our thought and let it go. Actually meditation is for me to fully be aware of our mind as well, nah. Like actually it seemed like from what you did, it seemed more like meditation to me. Like when the pain come, we need to just like be aware what this pain is telling us. Actually not like sometimes people will get misconception of meditation. Like they might think that the supreme peace or like suffering cessation would come like if we just like let suffering go, but actually it's not. Actually we the first step of that beginning to that path is that we need to really be aware of the suffering. We really need to be aware that everything that happens, so that is the really path to like the way that will lead us to like the more peacefulness state, nah.
Okay. So like what if maybe this question for Marcus, like what if I cannot meditate or I cannot go into this unconscious state? Like are there any other ways that you might recommend or you yourself do? You're muted.
Sorry, I was saying that Sujin, you read my face because whereas as mine and Man was sharing, I was thinking, I can't do all that. Yeah, but I guess maybe it's because personality wise, I might not fit into that approach at the moment. I have tried meditation. I think maybe my hormones are still running. I don't know. I'm still young, blood is pumping, so it was difficult to get into meditation and stay there without actually falling asleep. So that is my honest confession. But I think that it has a space for people that are more attuned and more aligned to that side, for meditation as well, for hypnotherapy. And I find hypnotherapy very interesting, that it can actually go into the subconscious, right? And from my understanding, for therapy part of therapy is to actually bring to conscious the subconscious, right? We do things like gestalt therapy, the empty chair approach, where we ask the person, if you imagine a young version of you beside you, what would you do? What would you like to say, and things like that. And I guess I myself do a lot of that in my own mind. I will ask myself what I want to do. What would the younger person say to me, or what would my older person say to me? So in a way, a form of mindfulness, a bit of cognitive therapy. That is more, and I didn't know I was doing it until I entered the counseling space. Then the theory showed that, hey, you're doing this. I didn't know I was doing that. And I guess it started a lot from when I was younger. It's a lot about hearing what people said about me, hearing feedback, both good and bad, and doing a lot of reflection to realize, become a bit more introspective, to realize that, hey, actually, this is good, should continue doing this. This is not so good, maybe I should adjust this. And sorry, to go back to your question about what I do, to be very honest, as a young father, there's not much time for ourselves to do meditation or to go for therapy myself, and things like that. But it's about finding time, right? So I did carve out time to go to receive therapy on my own. So somewhere in between, I'll actually take leave to go for therapy. And apart from that, in my day-to-day, I am also being a bit more cognizant about what I consume in my mind's eye about social media. Given that social media is a very big thing now, right? The fact that we are able to do this is due to social media. At the same time, when Dr. Wong Ling Yuan said that, when he, at the end of the day, he reflects, and which is a good practice. At the same time, it's not a practice everybody does. In fact, most of us would actually turn on our phone. We go to our Instagram, we go check our social media, what's our friends' life doing. And then that therein comes in the comparison. And in unintentional, right? We are trying to zone out, we're trying to turn off, but actually we're turning on something else. And at the moment, it does feel like we are turning off. It does feel like there's a shift. But in reality, that we are not actually really shutting off. So there's this whole phrase coming out also, as well as to disconnect to really connect, right? And in a space right now where there's a lot of connections, we would have to be a bit more careful about what kind of connections. So for myself, when I would actually listen to music, I myself, I play instrument. I listen to music when I do the laundry, or when I or when I'm eating with my wife. I would try to leave my phone in the study room, away from me, so just to really disconnect to connect. And those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's precious, and it refuels us, because that's what I'm attuned to. I want to connect my wife. That will fill my tank. Listening to music, music that I like, not the music that maybe we don't like, then it fills my tank, and I become more ready to face the day, or face work, or face other people. Yeah.
So when you are talking, right, when you talk about disconnect to connect, like it just made me think, like, whenever I need anything that's updated, I look for Marcus. Marcus is always the one who knows all the new things that's coming up in terms of trends and stuff. But I think it's a very apt phrase, right? To disconnect, to connect, right? Did I get that right? Yeah, and it sounds like, Marcus, you're also unconsciously or subconsciously practicing mindfulness, because you're doing one thing at a time and fully focused on the thing that you're doing. I see mine nodding his head.
I think there's another part that also, like, on top of what Marcus said, that might be a misconception. I'm also not a saint. I can't do meditation. I mean, if you ask me to do meditation, I think 1 hour time, I think I will doze off as well. But the part about hypnotherapy is which I have tested out using the EEG machine, the Muse headband. This is the part that when I actually, let's call it anchor in hypnosis state into a person, when they do the shift, the Muse will directly mention that they are in the meditative state. So we can just, in the sense, if let's say I anchor it down for you to close your eyes, take a deep breath and count 3, 2, 1, and you go into self-hypnosis, you will be there as long as you need to be there, and you just need to come out. So it's like a shortcut of meditative state. So I compare it with EEG machine between hypnosis state that I anchor to a person and a person that really know how to do meditation and go inside is even more stable than meditation. So I will say I play a shortcut. So I'm not there yet. Yeah.
Oh, but I would like to really like reframe as well. Like for me, actually, meditation, the true form of meditation is not like being like or whatever like that. But actually, like I would like to. It happened to people in Thailand as well. When saying like meditation, people in Thailand will be afraid. Like I have to become a monk or a saint to do a meditation. But actually, there are so many forms of meditation. Whatever you do to cultivate your mind, it is actually meditation. So like there are so many forms else. For me, playing music, sometimes yoga, sometimes it's also meditation, or sometimes I allow myself to get angry with the one that crashed my car. It's also meditation. But it depends on the view that we look at it. We don't really need to. Yeah, but for me, I'm looking from the maybe like more modern way to view this.
Mm. Okay. Wow. Thank you all for sharing all these different things. Like, I think I learned so much from all of you. One thing I noticed. Oh, sorry, Marcus. Do you have something you want to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think there was a lag. I wanted to raise my hand after mine.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to thank what Man and Mine have shared, because I mean, I also know them personally, and I also share with them my struggles with both the approaches, and I think, this is a good space for this conversation as well, because I invite Dr. Wong to chip in also, because in the sphere of psychology, so far as we know, it's the brain is a very interesting thing, and even right now we are still discovering so much more about the brain. So when men share about the different state of focus, when a certain approach brings a certain individual into, it is another insight that it was very interesting to find out about, like things like the one that's very common now, so a common knowledge, a common piece of knowledge that a lot of people are finding out about the brain is actually related to ADHD. The ADHD is a difference in the chemical makeup in the brain, and it's not just what we see as the behavior. So I think that this is, the differences in brain, the different approaches being tapped on, for us as humans to understand the brain is something that all of us can really have more conversations about and really find out a lot more about. Yeah, so I just wanted to thank both of them. I think I'm learning a lot of things right now. I'm sorry, back to you, Suji.
I see that Ling Yuan unmuted himself. You want to share? You want to add on?
No, well, I mean, my area is in clinical psychology, and like I said, definitely Man and Mine. Actually, both of them do share about things that I was really interested in, that's slightly outside of psychology. The main chapters in psychology, and I mean, today was really an eye opening for me as well. Learned a lot.
So I think, it's really great that all of you have all these different perspectives to share. We're so lucky we learned from a clinical psychologist, a clinical hypnotherapist, a counselor, and a counseling psychologist. Even I learned a lot tonight. one thing that I noticed y'all didn't talk about was social support. I'm wondering, like, is it because men don't need friends? Like, do men not have friends? I'm like, that's something I always tell my clients. Like, maybe y'all can talk a little bit on that.
Well, no man is an island, that's for sure. Of course, social support, it helps. I always have this joke that if we all have a very good friend, my clients don't actually have to come for therapy, because that good friend will actually be a good replacement for therapy, and it's relatively way less expensive than therapy. But of course, that doesn't therapy has its own value. There's a lot more to it than just, hey, let me just unload my burden or unload my mind off to you. In the therapy, yes, we can all do that. But with regards to our social support, of course, like I say, even just to share with families, with friends, they all bring in we all have different experiences. So everybody, when you do each sharing, sometimes you might have little nuggets from everyone that actually will help you and give you a different direction. You see a different light to things. Even if you talk to even your parents, our parents, maybe, what they know may seem to be so yesterday, so outdated, but then there are still nuggets of information that I think we still can benefit from it. And besides that, also, if you were to like encourage sports, so even if you join a whole some sports activities that's a bit more that involves a bigger group of people, such as playing football or dragon boat. I mean, that camaraderie and everything actually does help to boost your own self-esteem as well. You're part of this team that's so strong, that's so united. So it boosts you up as well, in a sense. And of course, with that, you can definitely at that moment you feel motivated, and then definitely be able to continue to be a good successful person for another day, for instance. Yeah.
Okay, so men have friends. Like, it's important for men to have friends as well. Mine, I see you unmute yourself.
Yeah, I would like to confirm that and we really do need friends, and actually from my perspective, like, people learn a lot from other people. Like, even me, by we being with all together with that, I learn a lot as well, like from men, from Ling Yan, from my cat, and from you, Sitin. Like, at it just like an hour talking, I got to learn something already. And why not we shouldn't have friends? Like, we can learn throughout all of our life. Sometimes thinking alone with that problem will lead us to some confusion, more loss. Thinking it with a friend, maybe we might get more lost as well, but but sometimes it feel more warm inside.
Okay, yeah. So having friends is something that's very important. Okay, before I carry on, I see Man, you've unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I think another part is like all men got friends, but the thing is we need to allow ourselves to share, because like every one of us know that our ego is the one that make us stop our mouth from opening. Like one of my client actually did mention to me that he have a friend that he noticed that when he plays sport, like what Lin say, that he plays sport and suddenly he feel a bit awkward, but nobody dare to ask him what happened with you. So but then in the end of the day, after he actually come out of the issue, and the friend, like my client and my personal friend actually come to him and say, what happened to you last week? He said, actually, I'm in a very bad situation. Maybe next time when you see someone that sit down on the corner when you're playing soccer, it's just a matter of asking what happened with you. So I think like we all have friends, but just that our ego is still higher than the problem. So we will not want to share what we feel. I think the most important part is to be willing to share. Yeah.
Okay, so being willing to share, having friends, having the support is important as well. So lowering down our ego, I think even girls also need to lower down our ego. Marcus?
Yeah, I second what everyone has shared. What men shared about being honest about emotions is really really resonate with me. Actually, my support, just when you asked, we never share about support system. I was like, hey, I thought I mentioned my wife a bit. My wife is my support system, and it is a reality that as our life progresses, life cycle progresses, we will focus on different things. And in my current state now, both my wife and me, we both notice that we actually have we don't have the privilege of time to actually keep up with our friends that are maybe at the moment single or maybe dating. Right. How we know? Because we check social media every night. That kind of thing. So actually now we're in the state of finding our own support groups as well. Personally for myself, I'm actually out there looking for like a men's support group. And when mine mentioned about the religious aspect for my own faith, within my own faith, and specifically also maybe to do with fatherhood, parenting, or maybe just a men's group would do as well. Because when everyone was sharing, I did recall the time when my wife, talking about support group and females, when my wife, when we were getting married, she could go on Facebook and find things like brides to be group, where everybody's like, hey babe, we have all that. And then there's no such thing as, maybe I was too busy being a man, so I didn't went out to find a grooms to be group. Then I don't know what we call each other. Hey dude, I don't know. But yeah, I guess it's again men coming to be feeling safe to open up to community and realizing that community, it's not a sign of weakness, but it's a form of strength in itself. That we don't have to journey alone in whatever phase we're in.
Okay. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that, Marcus. And actually, on that point, like for A Kind Place, we are planning to start a men's group. We are planning to start a men's support group. So, if you want to find out more, you can always drop us a message after this. But other than that, like, I don't promote so much, but like, thank you all for sharing tonight. Because I think like, you all have said you've learned from each other. I've also learned from all of you. So I can only imagine that like everyone else, I hope that everyone else who attended our talk also has learned from all of this. So this is the time where I want to open the floor to Q&A. I think we already have one question from the floor, which is, what are your own telltale signs that your mental health is in a good space? So the person say good because it can be good is very subjective, but maybe any of y'all can answer this.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Is the good?
Okay, wait, let me read. So what are your own telltale signs that your mental health is in a good space?
Well, in a good state. Well, for me, I mean, I I'll probably state like the difference that I notice in myself, or people notice about me. Lately, I realized that this is something that people notice about me that I didn't realize. But when I'm thinking too much, or I'm bogged down, I try to do frown a lot. Which is something that I don't notice, but because I'm in my mind, I'm just thinking about this. I'm just thinking of a problem. I'm just so consumed by it. It's like, so I don't really. I'm not really that aware of my outward feature, physical features, but more internally, I think things that I think I tend to do when I'm a bit more when there's a change in terms of my mood is like I tend to be a bit more quiet or less. I tend to talk less, and part of it, of course, is to go through that process of thinking. Um, uh, I'm not someone who will talk out loud to process. So, and I tend to maybe even distance myself just from maybe people around me until I thought through, and then I will come, and then when I'm ready to discuss or come back, then I will actually try to engage whoever I need to bounce the idea off with again. Yeah. So these are some of my own signs whereby I know I'm transitioning from a good mood to a bad mood and vice versa.
So for you, you notice like internal changes, like where you feel a little bit more down, or you frown, like these are all things that you know are leading you towards the not so good state.
Yes.
Yeah, but how do you tell if you're in a good state then? Like, yeah, I see a few of your men or mine.
I
Oh,
think
I
for
can
me, the best one
go
is like
ahead.
you can sleep easily. Because if you notice that the fastest that we've been disturbed is our sleep. And most of my clients that come for me for insomnia, why it actually very hard for them to use a sleeping pills, because they are really, really already in a very deep chronic stress. So for me, myself, I realize that when I'm stressed or when I really, really like have a changes, my eating habit will not change first, but my sleeping pattern will change. I'll automatically wake up every single night. And when I'm let go of that stress, then I will be the one that sleep very well. So yeah, that is for me.
For me, I would invite you to just feel it. To just feel it. It's good enough. Like the more we think what is good mental health, what is bad mental health, sometimes we get more confused. But our heart actually know it. Like if you feel nothing, if you feel like there is no problem, that is totally fine in your heart, it's a good mental health state already. But I know like it is one of the hardest thing because we don't really allow ourselves to feel. So
Okay.
yeah, just feel it, and then if you feel that there is some stress inside, you just work with it, then it will turn up to be less suffer state anymore again.
Yeah, I agree with mine. In the essence that I I'm not sure what this means good, but I think that it's very apt as well, because then the question is what is considered good, because the opposite it becomes very black and white, good versus bad. So then on the terms of good and bad, today is the day of the PSLE release. Then what's considered a good score? Is 59 a good score? Why if it was 60? Why wasn't it 60? So then when we try to qualify and quantify our state of mental health, I think we're taking it out of the context of what it actually is. Because if I'm very angry, am I in a bad mental state? If the context is that things were I was betrayed and people were not nice to me and I was very angry, then I am maybe in a mental state, because if I was not angry, that is a weird bad mental state to be in if somebody betrayed me, as compared to taking that feeling and putting it in another scenario. So it's a lot about contextualizing. And so I guess my answer to that would be, my response to that would be that I think we're all finding a balance of where we are, and what men say about sleep is a very telltale sign. It's in a way it's our unconscious self telling us where we are, right? Because if I can't sleep, then something in me is disturbing me. Like for example, recently my baby's coming out, right? I was going in and out the sleep cycle, both physically awake and also actually sleeping, right? The same dream kept reoccurring. I kept waking up asking my wife, are you having contractions? Is the baby coming out? And sometimes I was actually in my mind dreaming. Sometimes I actually really did wake up, but that happened throughout the entire night. So was I in a good mental state? Maybe not. But was I okay, functional? Okay lah. I mean, it's normal, right, to be a bit anxious about about my current state of life. So I think that's where therapy comes in. I think one misconception about therapy is that only broken people or people that are really have a bad state need therapy. But even my own clients, after they've gone through it, they themselves have shared with me that actually I would recommend therapy to everybody, because I think everybody needs therapy. Everybody needs someone to bounce off, someone to reflect, and for them, we can't realize ourselves in isolation. Like Dr. Wong said, we don't. No man's an island. We find ourselves in community, in a context with other people, and part of the community is therapists. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Sujin.
If I can jump in a little bit, and I totally agree with Marcus, because people label therapy. I always tell my client, I mean, like lately, I always say, how about if you look at me as a subconscious coach instead? Because everybody willing to be coached, but they are scared of therapists. So in the sense that I said, it's the same, like, because in hypnotherapy, we can help even people to find their own success. So why not you look at me as I am helping you to coach you out from the depression, or to coach you out from the panic attack. And they are more willing to say, okay, but actually for us, therapy and coaching, there's not much different except of the labeling.
Okay, thank you all for sharing. So I think that shift, right? That shift of mindset between coaching, coaching is something people are so accepting towards, but therapy, people are like, oh, therapy. And from what you all share, right, it almost sounds like knowing that you are in the not so good not so good state is kind of easier than to recognize when you're in a good state almost, because I hear a lot of examples of what's not functioning, and also but then being able to be aware of that is important. So I think we only have time. We have one more question. Oh, actually it's not a question. Somebody just replied to Marcus that probably need to educate us what's 56 in the current PSLE terms, because in our times 230 is a decent or bad score.
Oh, I don't see it, but okay.
Yeah, it's from the Facebook live site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so because I want to make sure that we end on time, is there we have time maybe for one last question. If anybody has a question, give your one. Okay, so what are some signs that indicate to me, either the girlfriend, wife, partner, etc., that our partner might actually need help?
Yeah, that is, I mean, I don't know if I can start. I mean, that itself is actually up to the individual, a lot of it. Like I said, for instance, earlier I mentioned that when I'm thinking, or I'm a puzzle, I'm frowning, which is something that I don't even see. I'm not able to tell my partner that, hey, and I mean, a lot of times when we are thinking about a process, it's just something that we just do automatically. We don't say that, oh, let me go through, at this time, I'm going to go into thinking. So it's just that when a problem comes in, we think, and then our outward, sometimes we do have our telltale signs. Of course, some other indicators that I kind of shared also earlier was like, oh, I tend to isolate myself for a little bit. But of course, I mean, if I isolate myself for too long, then of course I think my partner would be would probably be helpful to check in on me and say, hey, am I all right? Yeah. So of course, when we're all in the middle of our thoughts, it's a bit sometimes people might not want to be disturbed, so we do allow that time. But it's more like if we understand our partner well enough, we go through the process. We get to see the partner day in, day out. What are some are there any behavioral changes, any in terms of their habits that's changed, the way they talk that's changed, the way they interact with you have changed. Those are some signs that, oh, this person may actually be encountering some difficulties, some challenges at this point. I mean, and of course, I'm not going to tell you that, hey, but if I'm quiet, you ask me, I will definitely tell you everything I'm thinking. Sometimes it does take time, but the idea of even just asking that, hey, are you okay? I noticed that you have been quiet these days. Is there something that I can help you or you want to share? I mean, and sometimes we can just let the person have a few minutes too, a bit more time to actually process that thought and actually come up into have those thoughts stringed up into sentences and whereby it can be understood from your side as well. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it really depends on the individual. Yeah.
Man, you wanted to say something?
Yes, actually, I really agree totally with Indian is because the changes is the one that we need to see. Like people that normally serious suddenly look at all of the joke movie, but you know that he actually love action movie because the thing is something is actually definitely shifted out and it's weird. But at the same time, maybe just like I have a question directed to me directly, and I want to bring it up here that instead of trying to solve someone problem that we are afraid to bring their ego down, it's rather for us to really just ask a matter of letting the person share what they feel. Because it will be a lot of difference between someone asks, are you okay, to actually fix the person compared to are you okay just to listen and let the person share it out. Yeah, so it's just a little bit for me. I believe every guy will have that. It's like I scared to share with my girlfriend. If I share I have this money issue, my girlfriend will say, who asked you to work for this company, not the other company? And everything will turn sour compared to just really listen how the guy actually really feel. Yeah, so that's for me.
Okay. Being mindful of time, I think I'll go stop here. But like I think just to sum up, so if your partner, like if you want to know whether your partner's okay, ask them if they're okay, and truly ask them with the intention to listen, and also look out for any subtle changes that is going on in their life, whether it's isolating themselves or whether it's changing in the shows that they watch. So all these things can be signs that your partner might not be okay. All right, so thank you very much, like for everyone who stayed. Don't leave yet, because we need to get your feedback. Like, thank you to all the speakers, like for sharing. It's really amazing hearing from all of you. And for all the people who are still here, right? If you fill out our feedback form, we want to support men's mental health. So, we're having a promotion for all men. Like if you fill out the feedback form, include your email address, we'll send you a promo code. So your first therapy session with any of the speakers here will be at 50% off. If you're not a man, it's okay. You can share it with your male friends as well. So this promotion will be until the end of December because we really want to promote men's health seeking behavior.